Hi, in this video we're going to investigate what makes two lines parallel. Now, before we delve into example number 1, let's first look at some graphs and visually remind ourselves of what parallel means. If you read the first box on the left, two lines are parallel if they never intersect. For two lines never to intersect, they must have the same slope. Therefore, parallel lines will have the same slope. So I've got some examples below, and you can see my line here that is the y equals mx plus 2, and then I have another one that says y equals mx plus 5. And the reason I've put the m there instead of a value is because I can then change the m, and you can see if the m is the same for each equation, those two lines will always be parallel and never intersect. Okay, so visually, that's what we've got for parallel. We need to remember that the slopes have to be the same for the two lines to be parallel. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our equations. Now, if you look at these equations, both of these equations in example 1 are in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, and the coefficient of the x value is the slope. So what we want to do is we want to identify the slope in each of our equations. These are both in slope-intercept form, so we can see for both of these equations, for our first equation, our slope is 1/3, and for our second equation, our slope is 1/3, so these lines are parallel because they have the same slopes. Let's visually look at what this is graphically. So I'm going to go back to my graphs and I'm going to turn these off and I'm going to look at example 1. For example 1, I have the two equations that we were talking about before, y equals 1/3 x, and I also have y equals 1/3 x minus 5. So one is a plus 2, one is a minus 5. Remember that plus 2 is the y-intercept and the minus 5 is the y-intercept for the green line. So these two lines are parallel. They have the same slopes. Each has a slope of 1/3. So for both lines, you're rising up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3, but they have different y-intercepts. So these are two parallel lines. So I'm going to turn example 1 off. Let's go ahead and look at another example. Okay, let's go a little bit faster maybe here for this next example. For example 2, we want to do the same thing. Now, if you notice, both of these are still in y equals mx plus b form. That is called slope-intercept form. So we can quickly and easily look at the slopes and we can decide, are those slopes the same? And they are. They are both have a slope of 2. So what that means is if our slope equals 2, that's the same as 2/1. This is our rise or our change in y, and this is our run or our change in x. So in both of these equations, we're going to be going up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. The top equation of the first one has a y-intercept of -2, and the second equation has a y-intercept of +1. So let's go ahead and look at that and see, for example 2, we've got these two equations, and we're going to look at them. 2x minus 2 is the black one. You can see the y-intercept is -2, and the purple equation has a y-intercept of +1. And you can see they have the same slopes, and they are parallel. And visually, we can verify that, and we can even pick points out. We can go, right, up 2/1, up 2/1, and we'll hit successive points on each of those lines. All right, let's look at one more example before we finish up this video. For example 3, okay, again, we're looking at these two equations, and these two equations are both in y equals mx plus b form, which is nice. Notice, if you have your equations in this form, it is super easy to pick out the slope because it is just the coefficient of the x variable. So I'm going to look at the coefficient of the x variable here. It's -2/5. It is also -2/5 here. For both of these equations, the slope equals -2/5, so they are parallel. Lines are parallel. So in each of these, our line will be going down to right 5, down to right 5, or you could think of that's the same as going up to left 5, up to left 5. These are negative sloping lines, so we're going to turn off example 2 and we're going to turn on example 3 and see that these are downward sloping lines. Oop, there the other one is. One has a y-intercept of 0, right? Because the blue line, if we look at y equals negative 2/5 x, that's the same as negative 2/5 x plus 0. So that's why we have a y-intercept of 0. And for the red line, our y-intercept is 11. Okay, so that's it for today, but let's summarize. Okay, so in summary, if two lines are parallel, then they must have the same slopes. Or you could also say if two lines have the same slopes, then they must be parallel. I hope this helped you understand how to identify parallel lines. Thanks for watching.